Uh, let me get
So-
something to drink here.
Okay, so Graham, thanks for confirming my my thinking that a Nikon is $4,000 no matter where you buy it in the world. Now, a friend of mine lives in Dubai, and he said it costs a little more there, but everything costs a little more in Dubai. I just don't, I cannot wrap my mind around the markup in the US. I cannot. It's not fair.
Is it? Are you sure it's apples for apples? Are they not combining other goods?
You mean, is it just the Novaflex rail for 3,200?
Yes.
Yes, as far as I can tell. The display on B&H's website shows some other items like bellows, but it's not included in the bundle. All you get is the rail.
It's very unusual. I mean, for years it's been the other way around. The UK's always had an extra bonus for the distributor, I think.
Well, and to bring this even closer to home, last night I drank a Guinness Stout. The 6-pack cost me $11. That's approximately what it costs in Ireland. And the beer is imported. So how do they get it from Ireland to the US without having to charge us a 33% markup?
Pipeline.
Leprechauns.
Leprechauns running the pipeline.
Well, I know Ireland has very favorable import-export laws. That is by design. They're very business friendly. But Alan, you just joined us. I'm still having a lot of trouble wrapping my mind around the markup by the Mac Group, 10% discount notwithstanding. I think they're sticking it to us.
I will address that a little later. I'm going to address a lot of things a little later. We're going to do things a bit differently today. Welcome everybody. Sorry for the last minute joining of the meeting. I was actually up working fairly early, and there's something I wanted to show you today that I needed to finish. I didn't finish it, but I've got it to where I can show it to you. All that's going to be in the second half. Novaflex and Laowa are going to be the primary discussions in the second half, because there's developments in both areas that I want you to know about. In the first half, which is going to start in approximately 30 seconds, but I have to get some coffee because mine got ice cold while I was working. And without coffee, I'll just fall asleep right here at the seat. So let me go get that. And then we're going to launch right into our program if Bud is ready to do so.
I think I am.
Okay, great. Fantastic. I'll give a proper introduction and explain what we're doing in just a minute. First of all, good morning to everybody. It's good to see you all here today. Susan, good morning. What camera are you using for your webcam?
A Brio, Logitech Brio.
Really? It's an uncommonly nice picture, shallow depth of field.
Good.
I like that.
Nobody's ever said one way or the other, and
Is that your natural background just out of focus?
What now?
Is your background out of focus, or is that a synthetic background?
Intentionally.
Yeah. I would like to get one of those. I like that. That way people wouldn't look at my pictures.
Yeah, well, they get to look at my out-of-date wallpaper, so.
Give me 2 seconds and I will be right back, guys.
So, Bud, you learned a lesson last time. Go first.
What can I say?
Yeah. Good for you, man.
At least the camera's working for the moment. I found out you have to plug it back into your laptop with a cord in order to reestablish the connection, which is weird, but it is what it is.
Well, we will begin. First of all, thanks to everybody for adapting to the time shift. The reason I did this was really quite simply to free up more of my time, because the 2 o'clock in the afternoon for Zoom was killing the whole weekend for me. This way I'll get half a day for production back for Saturday afternoons, and that it just seems more convenient. Avery, welcome. Good to see you, sir. And here's what we're going to be talking about in the first hour today. And I'm going to give you a little background and tell you where this discussion came from. We have once again wound around and found ourselves talking about LEDs and flash again, as has been going on ever since I've been doing photography, basically. But whenever there's a new product or a company is talking about something exciting on the horizon, like Novaflex is doing now with the LED company that they just bought, it always brings up the same argument. And the argument always seems to go something like this, that LED is color accurate and adjustable, and flash is fast. LED's convenient and versatile. You see what you get. Flash is fast. LED's lightweight and portable. Flash is fast. LED's cheap and has, great, whatever, fill in the blank. Flash is fast. That's the argument. But the reality is LED and flash are two very, very different forms of light, two different light sources, and they behave very differently. And there is a reason that most macro photographers still use flash. I say most, that's with an asterisk these days. So what we wanted to do today, because of a new product that Bud has shown interest in and has asked me to look at, and I have been in touch with the company and I'm trying to work out getting some of their equipment so that I can test it. We're looking at a new way of using LED and trying to figure out whether or not it really is a legitimate competitor to flash. Now, you all know how flash works. A high voltage is passed through. Patrick is here. Greetings, Patrick. Hi. Rapidly becoming famous as the web design guru of the group. Everybody loves that. They really do. I'm getting so many positive comments on it. So the difference between that sudden discharge of energy through an inert gas in a tube that produces this ball of sunlight, basically. We have this a semiconductor that we pass current through that excites electrons into an unnaturally high state of excitement. They instantly drop back down to where they're more comfortable and put out some energy in the form of photons. That energy strikes a fluorophore, the yellow stuff in the LED, that then fluoresces in response. And it is that fluorescence that is the light. And that whole process, that flux of energy through a semiconductor, it can in fact be controlled by circuitry that can mimic some of the effects of a flash. But the question is, how do you get around the real limitations of this? The intensity of an LED has to be controlled by controlling its duty cycle, how long it's on and how long it's off. That's all you can adjust. When it's on, it's on. When it's off, it's off. So an LED actually flickers as it is being, as its intensity has been increased and decreased. It flickers in accordance with where you're setting the intensity level. Also, the color of the light is only as good as the makeup of the fluorophore. If the way that works, by the way, is just impurities that are mixed in with a fluorescing material that will generate certain wavelengths of light. And when you have these wavelengths of light being produced in a quantum block, again, an on or off situation, you are at the mercy of what's in that dopant or what's in that fluorophore to determine the color of the light. And if you have a fluorophore that's not putting out a certain wavelength of light, then it's not going to be reflected off things that normally reflect that wavelength. And you can get gaps in the color of the LED, which can result in odd colors in your subject. And if you've ever used really, really cheap LEDs, I have a Polaroid LED ring flash from 100 years ago that is shocking. It doesn't have band gaps. It only has a band of greenish light in the middle, and everything reflects that color or nothing at all. So it's shocking. I know we've come a long way, but I don't know how far we've come. And the way I want to do this morning is I'm going to let Bud have the LED side of this argument when he talks about this new product that has been released by Rotolite. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the company, British company. I'm sure that Graham is. And I'm very, very interested to hear what Bud's research has turned up and what his opinions are, and how he's going to counter these concerns that I have about LED. But without saying another word then, Bud, it's all yours. Convince me.
I haven't touched the thing yet. All I've done is read about it, but it's interesting because they claim they can do 500 flashes per second at full power. Now you can trim the power anytime you want, of course, because it's controllable. You're dealing with electrons. So it seems to me that we don't need the full power of a speed light. What we're doing is using closer to 1/32nd power or 1/64th power. So something that is powerful as a xenon flash is probably not necessary in the macro world. And if we can get 500 full flashes every second, that should be fast enough to stop most insect photography, or it's not going to stop perhaps a water droplet like 1/8000th of a flash would. So I think it has its benefits. Also, these things can work as continuous lights. So I think Graham might be interested in that with his rail system, using these as continuous lights. You can have 16.7 million colors that you can dial up. It has 2,500 built-in filters. I mean, these things on paper look crazy good, but I haven't touched one. So, without experimenting, I'm not sure, but you can get them with a 30-day return. So, you could get one, play with it for a week, decide whether it's worth a damn, and then send it back. And the other thing that they're doing, which just popped up on the screen, is a trade-in. So these are not inexpensive. They're in the $600 range for one of these Rotolights. But they'll take an old Godox flash. They didn't even say it had to be working, and they give you $100 off of that thing. So, and you have 14 days to decide whether you want to trade in a flash or not. So that's what information I found online, and whether any of it is true. There are several photographers that have totally converted from flash photography to these LED flashes. So go for it, Alan.
Well, what you had a paper that you showed me. Did you say you had that in the form of? Did you have some slides made of that information?
No, but what the information indicated was how flashes are graded. And if you look at the light output of a flash in a graphical form, it looks somewhat like a slightly off-center bell-shaped curve. And they take the light output at a certain percentage and draw a vertical, and they take it at another percentage and draw a vertical. And in between those two vertical lines, which is probably a third of that bell-shaped curve, is how they grade a xenon flash. Mm-hmm. So a xenon flash is not a discrete pulse, it's a bell-shaped curve pulse. Not symmetric, but just off of symmetric. And the electron flash, according to this article, is a square pulse. It's on or off, and there's no bell shape to it. And again, I can't prove that. I don't know it, but that's the information that is presented.
I think that you would have to be very careful about characterizing a flash energy distribution as Gaussian. I think that the IGBT, the isolated gate bipolar transistor technology that's used in speedlights, does square that wave up quite a bit. Graham, do you have any foreknowledge of this topic?
A little, but not qualified. Firstly, I take up an issue with you, Alan, about the pulsing of the. There's a misinterpretation of how diodes are driven, often driven by high frequency circuitry, which adds pulses, which is why you get a variation if you try and increase and decrease. If you use constant DC, I don't think that's the case. And with regard to rotor light, well, I don't know a great deal, but what I do know is the advertising was several steps ahead of reality in terms of performance, and they were selling this thing as being the be all and end all of changing from flash to LED, but the power was way down. I love the idea of it, Bud, and what a great idea to be able to use constant flash lining up your for composing and what have you, and then switching over to flash if you like for the speed. It sounds fantastic. The other problem is, of course, it's quite a large, from the ones I've seen anyway, fairly large. So for my sort of stuff, I would want to concentrate that light down. If you're using constant light, you need to get all that down. I mean, at the moment, I'm using 300 watts of light, of incandescent light, concentrated down through fiber optics, to light a subject. So I'm still a little bit concerned about that. So it depends. I'll stop there.
The lights, the Neo 3 Pro is 5 inches in diameter. The other one is about 12 inches, the big one. And these come with a snap-on diffusion hood. So that's as small as they get. I've inquired from the company if they could potentially build a smaller one or a ring light. And so far the answer is no.
Have you used any LED, Bud, in your still photography?
I did a spider back in the day where I took one of those LED ring lights and used it as a constant light and put it around the microscope objective.
Right.
And I got reasonable results.
I started out with what are they called? Those bendy arm lights from Scandinavia. Janslow, that's it. Yeah. When I first started doing high magnification macro, it was with 6 of those, which produce a rather sickly yellow light that actually worked great, and you just learn to use it, and you learn to work around the colors and what have you. But to me, the big sticking point is for an LED to be truly full spectrum. Is Robert here this morning? Robert Wester? Robert is one of our members who has a long history with LED. He worked with a company for 30 years that were producing high-end LEDs, and he is up to speed on all of the new developments. And I talked to him about this for some time yesterday. And it's really exciting what's happening with plasma LEDs and other high energy solutions that are just going to be totally impractical for us as our chip on board type solutions, which are tremendous for large scale LED lighting, but they're pretty useless in close quarters because of the heat they produce. And I'm still left wondering about how we're going to get around the fact that these are not full spectrum lights. I mean, at the end of the day, the reason I use flash is because it puts out sunlight. and sunlight is what I like to take my pictures in. And that is really as far as I need to go with the story. The way that people are getting around it is using combinations of chips, the LEDs of from different manufacturers sometimes, that produce overlapping bandwidths. But that's what an unknown here. I don't know what the Rotolight does in that regard. They claim to be full spectrum, right, Bud?
They do.
They describe their light as sunlight. But I'm skeptical. I've yet to see an LED that can do that. And I use LEDs all day, every day. I mean, they are my video lights, and I use them with cameras, and I understand the way the colors work and don't work. I just have had a hard time finding an application for it with my macro. Most of the other arguments strike me as fairly spurious. The cost, for example, I would argue that $600 Rotolight is never going to approach the same value level as 6 MF12s would. Assuming the MF12s only live for a year, you're still probably cheaper that way. As far as versatility and lightweight, will go anywhere. Yeah, again, I'd put an MF12 up against just about any source of light that I've seen yet in the LED realm. But I'm interested to try it, and I'm probably more interested to see what Bud does with it, because Bud has a way of uncovering stuff when he works with a device. What is your plan, Bud? When you get your hands on, you ordered or are going to order 2 of these? 5 inch?
I was looking at, if they truly have the 30-day money back, then I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, it's a lot of money. So I can get 2 of them for about $1,000. We're sending 1 Godox flash, and I get $200 off. So, it's a lot of money, but I mean,
I can send them 20 Godox flashes, but none of them work.
Right. To me, this is a hobby. So I like pursuing things, and it's nothing more than an investigation for me. It's part of the fun.
Well, we are at a time in macro photography where things are changing fast, and I would not be the least bit surprised if the day isn't going to come when there is an LED product that's out there that is going to be groundbreaking, and it's going to change everything. I don't know what it's going to look like or how it's going to position itself in the market. It could be what Novaflex is getting ready to put out. The fact is, as of yet, I haven't seen anything that offers that quantum leap. Patrick, this sounds like something that you would probably be fairly knowledgeable on, as does everything else. But what do you think? LEDs.
I have no, I'm just reading about that flash because I haven't heard about it. It's the first time I read about it. And I mean, the thing which I would really like is to have the combination out of a constant light and the possibility to switch to flash. I mean, that does a lot, and it helps a lot. And it's really good to have it together. You don't, whenever you have to switch lights, whenever you have to start, like I want to set up things and then I have to switch the lights to go to flash, that all makes it complicated.
Yeah.
And we don't want to have it complicated, but I haven't heard about it. It's expensive. But if it would work, and one thing, what you said about the full spectrum of the light, I was thinking like that as well. When I saw, I think Bud showed us a couple of his pictures of beetles. I'm not sure when that was. I think it was when Bud started to work with Royal, I think. Mm-hmm. And they were done with LED light, and the colors were amazing. And what I just was thinking of is that when I'm like at home it's dark outside and we have LED lights in the room.
Mhm.
The colors I look at, they look quite full spectrum to me. I know that this is quite, it's not objective, huh? But
Mhm.
I'm used to LED light. I'm used to the spectrum of colors. I'm just not sure how much that would actually decrease the quality of a picture if I would have a small line of the spectrum missing.
Mhm.
And if this would be the only problem, if the only problem would be that maybe there are 2, 3, 4 lines in the spectrum missing, I would go for it, because I think I mean, there are a lot of advantages if you have the same light source and you can switch from constant light to 1/8,000th of a second in the flash.
Well, 1/30,000th of a second in the flash. I mean, you can. There is no comparison between how quickly you can cycle off a speed light and an LED. I mean, you can't. And Graham, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but there is no LED circuitry that can match a low power speed light, is there?
The output power is always a problem. You're always going to get the same amount of power. As far as I know, you've got to have a longer duration of LED lights. At the moment, I mean, they're developing them all the time. I've got some incredibly bright LED lights and some fairly high CRI lights. And I agree with Patrick, actually, that the pictures we see are an interpretation. And as much as we like to have a completely realistic color, I think probably a lot of us wouldn't notice. I wouldn't anyway.
I think if I notice color, it is from having done product work where color is absolutely critical and it cannot deviate from the reference colors. Then you suddenly see band gaps for what they are, because those colors simply don't reflect. And in that case, an LED light source is a non-starter if it has any band gap, really. Larry has just joined us. Larry, we're comparing LED and flash again, as we do from time to time. And the new development is this Rotolight, the smaller Rotolight. I don't know if you're familiar with that product. For some reason, I think you might be. Have you used it before?
No, but I've looked at the specs. I think unless you're doing color matching work, it's probably fine. Or scientific, where you really want to know what wavelengths are coming off something. But other than that, I think it'd be really nice for doing the kind of work where you're doing like drag and shutter in flash.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that this can do is actually be constant and then push a burst of flash while the constant is on. So that would give you a ton of control.
Yeah. Kind of a movable rear curtain.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The other thing, Alan, in the pro version of the Neo 3 is built in to receive signals from the Godox transmitter.
Oh, you said that. Yeah.
Several transmitters they list, but that's the one I was interested in.
So an X Pro, for example, could trigger the flash, and what would you use the modeling light controls to control the intensity of the LED?
I think you can use a combination of xenon and the LED flashes. I know they'll be firing probably at different times, but you might it depends on how bad the shadowing is.
That would surprise me if a single trigger were able to trigger a flash and an LED.
That's what they say.
Oh, they say they can do it. They can coordinate the flashes. How interesting!
Yeah, that was their advertisement.
Interesting. So, how gosh, how would a new photographer, a new macro photographer, do you think, justify that kind of outlay? I remember when I first bought a flash, I bought a pair of old Godoxes, whatever they had back then. They were the full size speed lights. And they were about $50 a piece. And that was a lot of money for 2 flashes. But that was my setup for the longest time. That would pale by comparison, with $1,200 for a pair of these. How would
I don't know that you could justify it. It's like if you want to experiment with constant light, looks like an ideal source. I plug all of my LED stuff into a voltage regulator, and I get no variation in exposures.
Yeah, that's what Graham alluded to that. Graham, be a bit more specific, if you would, about the about where I misstated on the timing of LED, because I have that pretty hardwired into my head that this is a current driven process.
Yeah. Okay. It's as far as I'm aware, anyway. If you feed a constant current, you get constant light. The thing that you buy a torch, for example, it will tend to have a frequency-driven current driver in it, and that frequency is the thing that causes the problem. So that's why LEDs tend to flash. They don't flash; they're constant. It's only the driver that's driving them, and because they're solid-state devices, they will operate very quickly. So they, when the current fed to them flashes, there's no reservoir of light. It just flashes on and off extremely quickly, so fast that we can't see it, but when in photography we can. So that's why you have to be careful if you get a torch, for example, to light your stuff. If you're using a long shutter speed, you won't notice it, but often the circuitry, often to cut down the currents, they will use high frequency circuitry, because it's very easy and cheap, and you don't need big bulky things to do it.
I think we were talking about the same thing then. I mean, the as long as the current is flowing, the LED is producing light. But what you were saying was the duty cycle thing, the pulses, that's not a function of the LED, that's a function of the driver.
Yes.
Right. I wasn't separating the two. I mean, I was saying, when I say LED, I meant not just the diode, but the whole device. The things that make these flash are the point is that the light is flickering, and when that circuitry lowers the intensity of the light, it spreads out those flickers, and there are certain patterns of pulsation that are going to show up in our photography, because we're going to capture them with fast shutter speeds, right?
Yeah, but it depends entirely on the quality of the quality and the speed of the circuitry that's driving the LED lights. It all comes from, someone lights a sports stadium with LED lights, and people trying to take fast pictures, and they're getting their white balance all over the shop. But that's a way different from a high quality LED driver. So if you some of my torches, for the high quality, I can shine them on something, you'll never find any problem with them.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
Great. I always had this. I always thought about it like this. I mean, if I have a normal LED, which is made for, oh my gosh, how you say that in English? AC, DC, and you have the electricity comes out of the battery, which is a line, and then you have the electricity out with
DC.
AC is what?
Alternating current. That's
alternating.
That's out the wall, and then the DC is the direct current from the battery.
Okay, doke. So LED is actually made for DC. And
Mhm.
if I connect it to DC, I don't see any flickering at all. That's my experience. If I connect it to a AC power supply, I have flickering independently. I mean, I have to transform it. I have to somehow make DC out of the AC, and that is normally bringing the flickering through. And then the next problem is getting the voltage down if you want to regulate the intensity, and that is normally done with a thyristor, which is just switching it off.
Mhm.
It's actually it's switching the light off very, very often, and that makes it in the end darker. That's a problem because that flicker. But how about, I mean, if you could somehow just use DC variable, also you could somehow change the input voltage of the DC. There shouldn't be any flicker at all.
Well,
I wouldn't know where from, because it's just the LED with a constant, nice, beautiful light. All the flickering comes from trying to get the voltage down. I mean, if you would have a voltage source, a power source, you could regulate, and the LED which would work with different input voltages without problems and without too much circuitry around, you shouldn't have any flicker at all.
well, but you do that unless I'm misunderstanding the flicker in the LEDs is, well, first of all, LEDs are current driven. They're not voltage dependent for their intensity. So they're going to use the same voltage until you burn them out. But they're going to respond to increasing and decreasing current. But the thing is that even under DC power, they have a smoother signal that's more, I think that the fluctuations are more evenly spaced or something, but you don't see the flicker when you're using DC, but it's still there. And when you adjust the intensity, the circuitry still has only got that duty cycle to work with. It has to turn the power on and off to make it brighter or dimmer.
Yeah, but if you, Alan, if you think about the concept of a LED, can you imagine where that flickering is coming from? Because I can't. Maybe someone can help me. I don't know where it should come into place.
It's coming from the transistor that's turning the device on and off. Well, it is in a way a transistor itself. It is it's the current in the semiconductor that's allowing the current to pass. Yeah. And so if you want it to be dimmer, it has to be on less of the time, whether it's using DC current or AC. The AC current injects a whole new layer of problem because of the fact that current is alternating. And I suppose that is why you get these visible flickers. Mm-hmm. That's a good question, though. I'm not an expert in this. I wish Robert was here.
There are constant current LED drivers. I think the main issue is they're bigger and more expensive.
Yes, exactly.
So they don't get used a lot unless you are doing theater lighting or.
What did you call them?
Constant current LED driver.
Right. I have.
So the problem is that the LED will take however many amps you push to it until it dies. Mm-hmm. So there has to be a circuit that limits that.
Yes.
The circuit that limits it is what's causing the flashing. If you do it cheaply and compactly, you can design a circuit that doesn't do it that way, that uses another method. But they tend to be bigger and more expensive. Yes, they don't fit in the bottom of a light bulb.
If you used an analog current device to control the brightness of an LED, then there wouldn't be any flickering at all. So Larry is spot on there, and it's because of you need to control this very high current. You need to have expensive bit of kit, heavy, expensive for the light. And the reason, most of the reason is for the sort of LEDs we use, you have to overdrive them, you buy a torch, a good quality torch. You'll find it'll it'll be bright for the first minute or so, and then depending on the types of circuitry and the PID control circuits and what have you, it'll ramp down. You're overdriving it, and to stop it burning out, you have to keep cutting it off. The easy way to do that is to use a current frequency device, and that's the problem inherently. But if you just wanted a bright LED and feed it with a constant current, it won't flicker.
Okay, one question to that: do I get it right that the big problem is that the LED, when it gets warmer, normally lets more current or allows more current to, I'm not sure how to say it in English, but it's a temperature dependency. That's why I can't just take a huge resistor, and which I could use. I mean, I could make a resistor and the LED in one line and use the resistor to get the current if the LED would have a constant inner resistor thing. But if it is temperature depending, I would have to sit there and use my hand on that resistor. If it would be a resistor, I could change all the time. And I think that's the problem. So they use an electronic system to do that, and that induce it somehow to flicker. If I get that right, it would be nice if someone could say yes or no, because I'm not sure whether I'm on the right path.
The problem is, in order to get it bright, you have to give it enough current, and it will take, as you say, more and more. So you have to control that current. That current control is the important factor. Okay. However you do it, as Larry says, if you feed an LED with a constant current, it will stay stable.
The temperature, we're talking now about bigger multi-watt LEDs, 3 and 5 watt LEDs, where this becomes an issue. Providing you have them on a large enough heat sink that it can dissipate the heat you're producing, it just becomes a current related problem. And but by modulating the input current, you'll keep the same light intensity as the thing heats up. But unless I'm mistaken, with the right kind of heat sink in place, it heats up instantly and stays at that temperature as long as it's being driven with a constant current. It doesn't ramp up from there. It's not like a hysteresis type of effect.
So Alan, are you talking to the company? Are they going to loan you a couple?
They've been strangely circumspect on that point, which is no so far. We'll see.
Well, I'd be more than willing to, send them to you to let you evaluate them if you can get them back to me so I can return them within that 14 days.
Absolutely. I mean, if we go that route, that would be fantastic, and I'll work with you. Like I told you on the phone, I wouldn't need them for 24 hours. I mean, I can have everything ready to go and I'll be doing much the same tests I'm sure that you will be doing, and it'll involve taking photographs, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters to me, is whether or not it takes good pictures.
Yeah, I mean, I want to test it out with the MF12s, see if they work, are friendly together via the Godox transmitter, and then try the constant light and see how that works out. And if I can't see a problem, the only problem is expense. Yeah,
that is a little bit of that was a little bit of a shock when I saw that sticker for. I mean, I bought one of these LEDs. One of the worst LEDs I've ever owned, or the battery is anyway. It's a Lume Cube that just, this was incredibly expensive. Battery doesn't work on it, but this also has a flash capability. And I think a lot of my tendency not to believe the hype comes from having used this and tried to use it as a flash. It doesn't really satisfy, but we'll see. If we do it that way, then we'll set it up. I'll plan a day so that when the thing arrives, I can get everything done, get it back in the box, and get it back off to you, within 24 hours. And that way we can compare our notes and give a report to everybody who's thinking about it. Is there anybody who's actively thinking about changing or adding LED to your setup? And if so, why? What is your pain point? Why are you thinking of changing?
I can make it short just because of this discussion now.
Hmm?
I just saw, I can make it short just because of this discussion now. I saw that and I'm very interested. I mean, having a LED light flashing with 1/8, that's what they write, 1/8000th of a second with no recycle time. That is cool.
But you also do a lot of other imaging besides macro. So there are many applications for it in your workflow.
Yes, and there's still they say, if I'm not sure whether it's true, they say you have at 6 feet distance 1,700 lux.
Yeah, that's a lot.
They're using it for a lot of portraiture, and it looks beautiful, at least the pictures online.
I know a lot of portrait guys are using LED now, but they're using these RGBWW LEDs from Nietzsche that cost an arm and a leg, and it's really expensive stuff.
These are RGBWWs.
Oh, they are?
They are, yes, they are.
Interesting. Do you know who's making the chips? Did they say?
No.
I did a 12 video series on lighting, and I think about 3 of them were on LED, and it was long enough ago that I'm sure a lot of the stuff has changed. But I did finally get out of the house yesterday for the first time in almost a week, and went. I was going to go to the grocery store and get some water, but my car automatically goes to the thrift shop first. As I'm trying to go past, it pulls into the parking lot. And I found 3 LED things yesterday that I thought were novel and incredible. This one, which is definitely my favorite. If you get an opportunity to get one of these, it's hours of fun. And this photographs very well too. I don't know what it is. It was $1. The second thing, no, I'll show you the third thing. Hang on.
But I'm mostly interested in how you're going to get 5 inches to work in macro.
Oh, I can do that because I use clusters of MF12s that fill a space bigger than that. If I can use one of these lights for 3 of my flashes, then it can work.
I have a slide or two that I could show you.
Oh, please do. Please do. Let me first show my discoveries, because they're important. They're not important at all. This was the second one. It was a headlight flash that goes on your hat. I got a hat to demonstrate with it. It clips on your hat like this. And then you turn it on and it shines 1, 3, or 5 LEDs on what you're working on. So I thought, this is brilliant, but the lights didn't work. It had coin batteries in it, and they wouldn't light up at all. I could get it a light with a big battery though, but this doesn't feel comfortable on the hat. So I'm trying to figure out a smaller power source or a longer cable. But when you turn this thing on, it's really, really bright. I could see an application for taking pictures with this, except I'm sure these are the cheapest LEDs they make. Yeah, let's see if it'll turn on. Where's the button? That doesn't look like, oh, this isn't going to be a very good demonstration. Hang on, let me get my finger on the button this time. These are bright enough to actually use. Every bit as good as a Loom cube. All right, Nope. I think my batteries have gone dead overnight. Nope, there it is. See that? That's really bright. I had to super glue the bulbs in though, because they were all falling out, and they're in permanently now. But there's this. If anybody has an idea for a smaller power source, maybe an atomic power source that will
A little
fit on my hand.
1S LiPo,
Hmm?
the little flat pack lithium ions,
The what?
the little flat lithium polymer batteries.
I'm not putting that on my head. I've seen what happens on YouTube when you put those things near your head. They blow up. I've got some of those actually. I've got one that I took out of a Shark vacuum cleaner, but it's 14 volts, so it might be a bit on the right side. And then this is the best invention of all. You know what this is?
That's UV.
This
Isn't it?
is an LED rainbow maker for your house. And it was 99 cents. And it actually, when I took it apart and cleaned all the terminals, it actually works. What it does is, you won't be able to see it, I don't think. Maybe you can, but it shines LEDs that go through the spectrum onto that strip of metal, and it throws a big rainbow across the room at night when it's dark. It is, I had more fun with this, playing with this last night. That's why I didn't get any work done. Fantastic. If you ever see one of these, definitely get one. Yeah, it's just colored LEDs, but they do make an amazing display on the wall. Anyway, I thought you might be interested in that. I'm going to have a seizure if I leave all of these things on, so let me turn them off. We're 10 minutes till. Do you want to take our break early? Because I got a lot to cover when we come back. First of all, before we do that, before we leave the LED thing, I need to ask Avery, because he told us when he first came on that he was using primarily LEDs for his amazing microscopy stuff. Is that true? Am I misremembering that, Avery?
That is correct. That's what I used for a couple of years, and it was definitely a pain. I was using a program that came with my microscope camera, and so I would just increase the exposure like crazy, and so yeah, I had to sacrifice a lot of image quality in order to be able to actually see what I was photographing, because I was doing these at 200 times magnification with LEDs.
Oh wow.
And all I was using was 2 cheap flashlights that I bought off of Amazon with what the heck are these batteries called?
Oh,
Yeah, these
18650s.
Yeah.
3.7
I was using
volts.
those. Which are a pain because they drain really quick. When you have those things on for like an hour, they just
And they get really hot.
drain rapidly.
These things.
Yes.
Yeah.
They get really hot. And I was using glass slides to put my samples in. And they were little custom slides I made that allowed a space which I could put the root tip in and then put water in, it helped with reflections, so I didn't have as much like diffraction of the light.
So
I think it helped with the illumination as well. But
what are you using now for light?
well, since I got an actual camera, I have switched to flash. I have 2 flashes now, but one of them is an MF12, and the other one is like a cheap $20 Amazon flash. Ideally, I would just get another or 2 other MF12s so I could actually sync them up.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of weird with the one MF12 and this other cheap knockoff flash. So, but it's so much better. I mean, I loved using the continuous light because you could see what you're doing the entire
Mhm.
time. Because right now I haven't found a really good way to like look at the subject when I'm planning on using flash, because I on my camera I'll just ramp up the exposure and then use the viewfinder to actually see what it is that I'm looking at,
You got a
and then I have
mirrorless
to
camera?
ramp it back. No, it's a Nikon D750.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Yeah, that's one of the things about mirrorless that I'm very quickly learning to love is what you see is what you get. I never thought that would be that big a deal, but it does make a difference when you're trying to acquire things through a microscope. It really does. Well, that's exciting. So you've gone the other way then. Do you see? I mean, if you had light that was powerful enough, cool enough, bright enough, color consistent enough, would you prefer to use LED lighting if you could?
Definitely. I've gotten used to it. I like the control. You can instantly see where the position of the light and how that makes a difference. Whereas with flash, it's like you're constantly having to adjust, take a picture, and especially with the microscope stuff. I mean, one picture looks like crap because it's such a small sliver of what the whole picture is going to look like. It's really hard to get an idea of what the thing is. Whereas with continuous light, I can move the focus up and down, and I'm able to kind of get a picture in my brain of what it's actually going to look like, which is I find very useful. So,
Avery, do you ever use modeling lights on the MF12?
no.
You should try it.
How does that?
There is a button on the right that has a starburst looking thing on it, right below the power button, and you can turn it on from your remote, from your X Pro. It's the same symbol. You turn it on, and a bright LED light is built into the flash.
Oh, I did not know about that. I also need one of those controllers because I don't have one.
Yeah. You can also adjust the modeling light with a spinning wheel too. So once you have the modeling light, if you hold it down, it goes into a sub menu and you can control 10 as the max brightness and you can back it off from there. And I use it to see where the problematic reflections are going to be from my flash placement.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I did not know about that. Does it drain the battery quickly?
Yeah.
Or
It does.
but not quickly.
It's not
really
quick.
quickly.
Yeah.
No.
I got one here it's this button right here.
Okay.
When you turn it on, if you press that button, it gives you a really pretty decent modeling light. It's that light in the indented part. And hold press the thing, and it'll give you the intensity, which you can dial up and down. It turns itself off after a while, so it can go as low as 1, high as 10.
Cool.
It's actually very handy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because right now I just stick one of my crappy flashlights in there.
Yeah. Well, you might need both. I mean, you're working at such crazy magnifications under a compound scope. You might need more light than that.
Yeah.
You've got a whole bunch of people now trying to do what you're doing, including, by the way, Rick Littlefield has been taking pictures through a compound microscope the last week,
Nice.
trying to emulate some of the results that you're getting. That's pretty impressive. So, right, one of these days we want to definitely get you to show us more about how you set these shots up, because I, for one, would love to give that a try sometime. Has everybody seen Avery's shots? If you looked at the competition last month, a couple of the really excellent. He placed twice in the results last month with 2 incredible pictures. What was that bed straw thing called again? That
Yeah, it's just bed straw. It's a common weed in our garden, and they have these really, really tiny flowers that are really pretty. It's just like a cross.
uh-huh.
And I was finding when I was looking up stuff to do, I was trying to figure out how to take pictures of water through a microscope that looked cool. And I found out the droplet thing. And I was like, wow, this is awesome because I can actually take pictures of things that are way bigger than I would ever be able to get under my microscope lenses. So I was like, oh, kind
I'm
of.
going to see if I can find that image because it was really, really nice. Let me see. It could be almost anywhere by this point. That my filing system, as Larry knows, is a little bit on the hit and miss side. Mostly miss. No, I can't. It's anybody's guess. Oh, maybe you have the picture. Do you have that picture handy?
I do.
Could you show it to us? Just screen share and show it to us. That would be great if you could. No stress, no hurry.
I got it. Okay. I think I'm screen sharing.
That's it. Yeah, you are. That's. Has everybody seen this picture before? It is just beautiful. The definition on those water drops is unlike anything I've ever been able to get. And
This
that's
one
under a compound microscope.
would have been very helpful to know about that light trick on the flash because you can see that is a reflection of my diffusion cover
Yeah.
on the flash, which that was a little upsetting, but
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt the picture because it's uniform and it's soft and it just works. The whole picture works. In fact, it was that blush of light at the top that gave the really spherical nature of those drops definition. Without it, it might not have been as impressive. Yeah,
cool.
this blew me away when I saw it. I take it those little teeth on the fibers of the grass is what holds it together and makes it a good mattress.
I believe so. It's like the grass. I think that's what helps keep that ball round, the little droplet round. Because it's kind of a pain because I was messing around with this a lot, and if the ball is not perfectly spherical, you get a lot of distortion,
Right.
and it's hard to get in focus. And it'd be really annoying because I'd be setting it up, and then one of the ball would just fall off. And it's like. But
Yeah,
those little teeth grab it and kind of help.
I think what carried this one for me was the way that your three drops are at different depths of field on the blade of grass, and they're showing different perspectives of your subject in the distance, and it just works so well. Normally you're used to seeing a very orderly row of drops that show the same thing in a progression, which is beautiful as well, and I love that effect, but this is quite novel, and you won full points for originality.
Alan,
Excellent picture.
were you gonna take a break?
Yep, that's what I was getting ready to say. Go for it. 5 minutes. See you back, and then I'll be doing all the talking. Amy, how are you?
Doing good.
I just now figured out that was corn behind you. Is that corn behind you or no?
No, it's orchid.
Oh, yeah. Up close, it doesn't look like corn at all, but yeah, it looked like ears of corn in the little picture. Okay, well, let me go get some medicinal caffeine and I will be right back.
Huh.
Has everybody had a chance to look at the Walls Dash app site page thing? It's
Very good.
I've
it's
looked at it a bit.
it's really nice. I must say that I have high hopes for this making a difference in messaging and that type of thing.
Alan,
Yes, sir.
I've got for those of you that are thinking of making using a mystery lens, I've got a little thumb nut I'd quite like to show you.
A little what?
A little nut to.
Oh, please.
Can I share my screen a second? Is that illegal?
Yeah, absolutely. You should be able to without any trouble.
So hopefully that.
Yep, you got it.
Okay. Let me just scroll through.
Oh, they're beautiful. How? Yeah.
Sorry. What I found is these thumb nuts, 4mm, 30mm high, 60mm wide thumb nuts, and they're a really quick way of tightening the thing up without bothering with a screwdriver. So I thought I'd just let you know. There's only one thing you need to do if people use them is the washer. If you need a washer underneath, really, and it slightly fouls the radius that's inbuilt where my cursor is. So you just have to get a little Dremel and just take a little nip out of it so that the washer sits flat. Otherwise, when you clamp down, the washer is forced upwards, so it hits the thread of the screw and doesn't undo easily. But as soon as you've done that, and you can't even see what I've done there, but there's a tiny little nick to make it sit flat. I
mean, could I not just do away with the recess and just have it flat there? Just take it out of the code.
Yes. Oh yeah, too right, of course. But I used Larry's code, so
yeah, right.
I didn't want to muck around with the thing, so I just thought that was an easy way out. But yes, you're quite right. I wouldn't have put the cutout in. Sorry.
Well, that's been the one. I tried the thing that we talked about a few sessions ago of cutting the ring around the equator and using it as a rest with a rubber strap to hold it down, but I couldn't find any rubber toggles that were they make them for coolers and for Jeeps and for all kinds of things that are either way too heavy or way too lightweight, and the heavy ones would break the 3D print, and the light ones just wouldn't hold the lens properly. So I eventually gave up because the third batch of neoprene that I bought is perfect. It fits perfectly. It holds the lens without any rotation. And it's in fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get into this whole layover thing, and I'll do that first. But does anybody have any questions for Graham about that adaptation of the system in case you end up needing one or using one? I think it's a brilliant idea. Where did you get them? Can you put a link in the chat?
I will do that right away.
Great, because I'm going to order some of those. Are they M3, M4?
M4.
M4. Perfect.
Alan, I had a question.
Yes, sir.
Did you want to do anything about the vertical like you had asked me to do or not?
Oh, I wanted you to update us because last time, it was at the end and folks were leaving. So if you're good to do that, you can do that now.
Is everybody back and ready to go?
I think everybody is here. There's a couple of, I think everybody that's coming back probably is. I had asked Bud, by the way.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Alan sort of asked me about the evolution of why I went vertical and, sort of the decision tree process of how I got to where I am now. So if that is of interest to anybody, I'll be glad to do that in about 5 to 10 minutes or whatever. Is that any good?
Please do. Yeah, I'm definitely interested, and I know that everybody's got a system in
Right.
evolution.
May I share screen?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Let's see. You are sharing screen. Let's see. I'm trying to get to, where is it? Keynote here. Can anybody see this?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start at the top. These are just a couple of slides. So when I put things on my rig, one of the things Patrick asked was sort of the name of your rig. So I thought about it for a while. And I was going to name it Ginger because I could always take it down, so tell the wife I was going to go downstairs and mess around with Ginger. But Alan talked me out of it. So
I know his wife, so.
So anyway, I ended up calling it this thing. Does anybody know what that is? It's Latin for macro cage.
I'm not, hang on, I'm not seeing it. Show me.
Nobody see it?
No,
I see.
it's me. I've got the wrong view on for some reason. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, now I see it.
Tortorcavias, that's the Latin for macro cage. I didn't even know Latin had a term for macro, but there it is. So anyway, this is what it looks like today. But I want to go through it, showing the evolution of what happened. This ended up in the basement on a concrete floor because of a, distress from the wife and the grandchild and everybody else, that I was trying to say, don't go down the hall because I'm taking pictures kind of thing, and trampoline effect. So I took my upstairs, moved it downstairs, redid the tables, and rethought my way through it. But here's where I started. I started with a clamp, big vise, and a 3x3 maple post that I drilled holes through, put some clamps on it, bolted it through, and ended up with my rig on it. And so for the first 30 or 40 pictures I've done, this basically is what I used. Then my son-in-law says, why don't you use something more solid if that's what you're looking for? And this is known as a grinder stand that people use in workshops. So they strap sanders or grinders to it. It's 3 feet tall. It's 4 inches square and has a plate welded to the top and the bottom. So with this idea, I took it and I bolted it to the desk. You can see the bolts at the bottom. You can see the holes I had drilled in it by a pro because I wasn't any good at it. And so this tabletop is 3/4 inch plywood, but underneath I had space to put more plywood. And so there are 3 thicknesses of 3/4 inch plywood bolted and glued together. So this thing is like a rock. And to this, I drilled holes at the same place that I had holes in the thing. So there's a bolt that goes through the clamp. This is an Arca Swiss clamp. It's a 7-inch bolt. So it goes through the clamp, through the wood, through the thing, and has a star knob on the back to tighten it down. And so this is what it looks like with the rail intact. And you can see that I have a 400 centimeter rail at the bottom, 300 at the top, and I've got them perfectly matched, and everything is plumb. They're the star knobs that on the back side of the bolts that hold everything in place. And here it is now with the cage over it. And you can see this is the basis that I can run Arca Swiss up and down. I don't have to change anything out. So at this point, with gear in place, this is what it looks like. So here's the post. There's the star knob in back. Here's the 2-inch maple that I use for vibration dampening. And then I have the Arca Swiss clamps holding the rail. And then I have a double clamp that holds both the Arca Swiss rail and the stack shot. So by the time you tighten these down, and there are two of them, you've got that stack shot in a grip. Now, on top of that, I wanted to get a little bit further away, even realizing there was a sort of a point of diminishing return, but I wanted to see if I could get away with using a mirrorless camera, no vibration, even if I extended it. So this is one of those rotating clamps, and I have it sideways, so it basically locks the bellows in place. In other words, the Arca Swiss is not vertical, it's horizontal. Okay, so this can't fall. Now, here's those little plastic caps, and what I did to those plastic caps, I'll show you in a second. But this is my, what do you call it, dashboard, if you would. So I have a small Adamus Shinobi. It doesn't do all the storage of video stuff, but it takes the image from the camera and puts it where I can sit in a chair. Here's the stack shot controller. Here is the Pro Godox. It's connected via this SC17 cable to the flash on top of the camera. And down at the bottom is a handle. The MC N10 is what they call it. Why I would name it, I don't know. But so I can control all of the camera functions here. I can see what's happening here, both in live view and with photographs. And I can run the rail up and down here without ever leaving my chair. So yeah, it's a little over the top, but man, is it great. And here's what the monitor looks like. You can see, I can focus in on that bug. I can run the rail up and down with the stack shot quite nicely. Here's what the handle looks like. It looks just like a camera, except it doesn't have the camera parts. It's got displays, it's got plus minus. So you can go plus for focusing, you can do menus, go through all the menus, pull up anything you want. You have a scroll wheel, you have your back button focus if you need to do some autofocus, which I don't. And it has a toggle switch. The other side of it, as you can see behind it, you have, here's the regular camera button. Here's a plus minus, and here is your ISO, and you can program your movie channel to do video or whatever you choose to do. This only works with the Z Nikon currently. I have the 7 II. Here's the cable. You can see the SC17, which takes the flash controller and puts it elsewhere. I don't know whether they still make them, but they're available. And you can see all these various wires. The other thing I want you to see was this piece of elastic cord. Now I've got an L bracket on my camera for when I use, outside doing regular photography. But what I noticed was the camera would rock back and forth slightly at this juncture here. And I didn't want to give the camera the option of changing alignments just because it wanted to. So I put a little bit of force on the left side here to pull it to one side and give it enough elasticity that it stays to that one side. This is what the rig looks like. Again, what I wanted to show you this time is I have replaced that plastic cap. Because it's a 1/4-20, I put a regular Arca Swiss at the end, and there's no way that bellows is going to slip off of that. The other thing is there's an Arca Swiss at the top, and that's what the elastic cord is hooked to. I also have, because it's a 1/4-20 all up and down the rail, I can put two of those foam foot things that you stand on and screw a 1/4-20. This is a flathead 1/4-20 thing, and screw it into the rail. So if the stack shot were to slip, it's got only a 1/2 inch that it can fall. Almost done, guys. These are the lights I was using, Larry. These are 4 inches in diameter. These are my own 3D printed light sources for both diffusion and or polarization if I choose. I had
They're just MF12s.
These are just MF12s with these stuck on them. Instead of, they have the same clamps as the MF12 diffusers that come. So when you stick them on, the only reason I have them taped here is because they're a little bit heavier and they could come off.
I like them.
but they work great, and they're 4 inches in diameter. The roto light's 5 inches in diameter, so it's not a lot of difference. I mean, a little bit, yes. Then at the stage down below, what I wanted to show you was this is the part where I'm going to put this under the camera to take pictures. And you can see that this basically is where the needle is. I have a little video to show it to you better, but it will sit on this piece of stack of wood. Now these wood stacks are stuck together so that they are at defined height, so I don't have to change the height of my microscope. If I'm going to bring this thing over, then I use the short stack, and it's a perfect focus. I'm ready to go. If I want to do something different, I can stack both of these together and sort bugs out in a shallow dish. If I need intermediate, I use these squares that are not glued together, and I can stack it in between so I can raise or lower the height. So I never adjust the height of my microscope at all, which makes it very quick and convenient.
Mm-hmm.
And all of my setup is done here. Then I just pick this thing up and I move it over, as I'll show you, to the stand. So here's my stand. So I bring that last thing I showed you over, the Lazy Susan, and set it right on top. You can see the top of it here. And I can drop my lens right down through. Here's one layer, this cylindrical of diffusion. So there's one layer and two layers, two concentric cylinders. And below that, you'll notice that there is light coming from below because I have an MF12 inside of this. And this is the modeling light on, which I can also control from the Godox transmitter, as we showed earlier. And so I can light everything up, get the lights like I want them, turn the modeling off, and take a flash. So here, I think,
Oh yeah, nice.
is the system. I don't
Did you
know.
3D print that flash holder at the bottom?
This thing?
No, the thing that's holding the MF12 vertical. Yeah, that.
No. This is just two pieces of plant things that you can get from the Home Depot that you sit plants on that have a cork and a plastic side.
Mm-hmm.
And between them, I put sorbethane. So what I've attempted to do is, I don't think there's any vibration on this table, but if there is, that sorbethane is going to eat that vibration alive.
How are you stopping the MF12 from flopping over?
This is a piece of sorbethane.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And there's a screw thread on the other side of, back in here. Can you see my arrow?
Yeah.
To the left. So instead of screwing it to something, I put just a flathead quarter 20 in there. You can adjust it up and down and make a perfect stand.
Yeah. You're talking about the thing that slides in from the side, the little.
Yeah, but there's a quarter 20 thread back there. You just put a screw in it and it'll hold it, stand it straight up. I got a short, quarter inch or half-inch screw.
Got it.
But anyway, this is a video. I just want you to see how I put it together, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. This is cool stuff.
There's a sorbethane, and it's just on shiny stock card. You can see the screw see the screw back in it?
Yep.
So I set that on there. I'm going to turn on the modeling light. Shiny inside. Again, card stock. This is 2 layers of acrylic that are held apart by just, rubber feet. And then I made those extensions with quarter 20 extenders just so I could use it to fit inside.
Got it.
And I have that slot in between them so I can put other things. If the light's too much on one side, then I can move a piece of black felt or a card and block the light. Then everything's adjusted under the microscope. I just bring my part over.
It's kind of like acting like a condenser then, in a way.
It could be, but you see how everything's geocentric when I rotate it?
Yeah.
And you can put the inner cylinder over. Then you can put the next cylinder over. And this is why I went to vertical, is because it makes it this quick to set up. And I found gravity was my friend. You can see that everything is still inside there.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty.
And then you move it right under the objective. And now I'm going to take the objective and crank it down.
Are you going to put this
Watch.
video on the My Rig page?
I can put if Patrick will let me. I think we're a little space limited. I've already made one mistake, and I put in full size pictures, and I needed to get them down smaller. So Patrick's going to help me, I hope, correct my error. But I've already put something on My Rig. But anyway, this video is there. It just shows you what you can do with just do-it-yourself stuff.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, I've watched the evolution of this from day one, and that's impressive amount of control.
And so this is just showing the modeling lights on. This is showing the setup in its final form. And, I've got a huge amount of space. I choose not to use bendy arms. I like these things are basically just steel, with plates. And I put a fishing weight on the back of them to counterbalance. And these things are selfie sticks, so they've got a little ball head on the end. You just take the handle off and you jam it down in there into some foam, and you can move these things around in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I like the fact that you can get basically hemispherical light without having to suspend any lights.
Well, thanks for looking, guys. I just thought that might give you some ideas for if you go vertical, what you could do.
It's impressive. Great job. Great job, bud. That looks awesome, and I look forward to seeing your entry over on My Rig, because I think people are going to model theirs off what you've done. This is impressive. Can you give a ballpark if you exclude the hardware that is not proprietary to the system? So don't include the stack shot hardware, for example. What do you think this conversion cost you to go from your bog standard horizontal rig to this?
So the desk cost me $5 on an auction sale.
That's my kind of desk right there.
All right. PVC is what PVC costs. It's the post itself, the metal post was $200, $199. But I suspect they can be found online used.
Yeah, I haven't found one. I started looking for one this week, and I didn't find any on eBay, but maybe Marketplace.
They make lighter ones, and you could fill it with something that's heavy. This is 1/4-inch steel, and if I'm going to do it, this is the last time I'll ever buy one. But yeah, it's pricey. But anything. I think the maple was about $25 maybe for the 2x2 maple.
3x3, isn't it? That post?
It's 2x2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the 3x3 was the first one that I had, but they don't make bolts long enough to go that distance, so I had to drop back, and it made no difference. The rails are cheap rails, HOAGE or something.
Hogue, yeah.
Hogue, and the clamps are Hogue, so they're all inexpensive clamps and rails. Maybe $150 for everything max.
Whoa. Well, I went to Harbor Freight last week to look for one of those posts. I figured if anybody had have one cheaply, they would. They do have a stand, but it's round. It wouldn't lend itself to this. They told me they might have a square one online, but I haven't checked yet. Does anybody else know Harbor Freight well enough to know? Because that's the missing piece for me. Right now, my vertical rig is bolted to the wall, and I think I've picked the one piece of upright wall joist that actually vibrates in this house, because it's useless.
That's the reason I did not attach. You see, I could have attached it at top because it has built-in holes up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a stairwell behind here.
Ah, yeah.
And, to me, the concrete floor is as good as it gets. And so there is a piece of wood across here that has a light on it, or, a LED light strip. And so that's where I'm getting all the light from, is from that piece. And interestingly, you can, by undoing the clamps on either side, you can move the light up and down the PVC posts. So you can change the height of the light depending on what you want. But the whole reason I went to the hardware that is more expensive is because when you do a vertical rig, yes, you can tilt the back live view screen, but you have to stand up, and then you're running the controls and everything from the standing position. Then you sit down, you change something that you saw wrong, then you stand back up. So it's a lot of up and down. And I found this monitor that was a small one. They make much bigger ones, but this one's bright enough to take outside. And so being 76, I can't get on my knees much anymore. So if I go outside, I'm going to sit on the stool.
Well, you can, you just can't get back up again.
Yeah, I need help. So basically now I've got a monitor and I've got a handle. I can sit in my easy chair out of doors with a tripod on the ground and remote control the sucker.
Well,
anyway, guys, I've taken up enough of your time, but any questions?
It's very impressive. I'd be interested to hear what Graham thinks of this setup.
It's really good, fantastic. Yeah, it's completely different for me. It's so good, Bud. I think you could go constant light.
That's next. Maybe I can get you to make a rail from me if the price is right.
Well, it's very impressive, very well thought out, and it certainly speaks to the power of the iterative process in designing this stuff, because this has been step by step by step, and I don't think you could just come up with all of this at once. Very nice. I really look forward to seeing what you get from it.
Yeah.
I've actually been working on something that may cause you to reconsider your base unit there, your module for positioning, but it's involved a lot of 3D printing over the course of the last week, and there are some parts I'm still waiting on to finish it up, but we're making some progress on that, so that will remain a mystery for a little while. I wanted to talk briefly about Laowa, because as you know, the launch was scheduled for this week and it didn't happen. I found out about it on the morning of the launch. No, the morning before the launch, Monday. It's supposed to be launched on Tuesday. I had 2 live streams set up to deal with all the stuff that I've discovered about this lens and talk about them, but had to cancel all of that at the last minute. But there are some things that you don't know, and some inside information that I'm not going to share with the channel, that I thought if anybody is thinking at all about the Laowa Oregon system as a possible alternative to an investment in an infinity corrected microscope objective setup, then I have information that I think may play into your decision making. So I thought we'd take a little bit of time to talk about that. Let me show you how this development came about. I'm going to share my screen for just a second. Theoretically, I'm going to show you some pictures. I went out last week when I had Laura staying here. She has done this in the past, very kindly helped me with doing some filming. So I thought, perfect opportunity to get the NovaFlex rail out in the field. And I'm not a big field focus stacker, never really have been. So I decided to give it a try when I had somebody who could hold the camera for me. So Laura took some pictures while I set this thing up, and I discovered when I got down there that I brought my macro lens with me, but I had also, let me go back to the beginning here, I had also accidentally brought the Laowa, the 10x microscope lens, from Laowa, the shortest of the 4 lenses, and that was attached to the camera. So I thought, well, why not? While I'm out here, go ahead and do a double whammy and set this thing up and see if in fact it's any good out in the field. So what I have here is just my tripod with my Benro 3-way geared head. Mounted to that is the Novaflex Castell micro rail. Loaded on that is the D850 in the portrait orientation with the Laowa lens on the front. Now, this is a shockingly stable system with the tripod down like this. I mean, it really didn't look like it was oscillating or vibrating at all. But what you won't get a feel for in this is how windy it was, and everything. I've got a lot of my grabbers that I use out in the field for holding things steady, but everything was moving. Butterflies were kind of hanging on sideways to flowers to feed because of the breeze. I couldn't get a good stack here. So what I did was I repeated it when I got indoors away from the wind. And I was so impressed with how usable this system was. It caused me to start thinking about whether or not this was a feature of the Laowa Oregon that would add to its usefulness for people who were considering it. Because until now, I've thought of it in one way, and that is an alternative to buying 3 or 4 microscope objectives at prices ranging from $900 all the way up to $4,000, plus tubes and tube lenses and rails and everything else. Instead, I started thinking about at least the 10 and the 20 as camera lenses. And if you thought about it in those terms, would it add value to this package? Well, turns out the price dropped again. And the final price, which has not been announced yet, and it won't be until the launch on the 26th, is now down to $1,500 firm. And they're charging $50 for a support system, which I haven't seen and I haven't used, so I can't comment on, but I know it's not nearly as good as mine. That's my non-comment on it. I saw what they were talking about using, and it's a Wii Macro kind of support ring. It's not going to be enough to support this lens at 35 and 50 magnification. But in the field, I discovered that in a vertical orientation, at least, you don't need any kind of support for this. It just hangs straight down off the flange without any difficulty at all. And this was as easy to set up, albeit with a shorter working distance, than my macro lens. And with the Castell Micro, which is a truly amazing piece of kit, the stepping was no problem. It could handle this load without breaking a sweat. And it did it on the tripod, though, of course, everything was moving on the tripod. So my subject was vibrating. It was a leaf or something fascinating, but this was done at the last minute after doing the rest of this video. That's what I was thinking of, was the Castell Micro video, not this, until I started using it, and then this became the most interesting part of the day. And I wanted to share that with you, and then I wanted to show you a video that I made and have sent to Mr. Lee at Laowa to ask him if this is something that he wants to put out as a teaser. I'm going to show you that video, but this has not been released. It might not be released. If it is, you're seeing it in its mid-edit form. I mean, I have not finished this edit, so this is not a completed piece of work by any means. It's just what I have so far. And you won't believe how much work goes into a 60-second video, but this is what I came up with. I wonder if I should make it full screen. I'll just make it bigger. Can you see my Premiere Pro screen? Yep, okay. All right, so this is it. It's 55 seconds. And when he asked me why, hang on, I'm going to turn that volume up a little. Can you hear did you hear that when I started talking? Okay, all right, start it over. And when he asked me why I never do focus stacking at 10 or 20 times magnification in the field, I told him it's because there is no lens for that. We need an infinity corrected microscope objective, something that's apochromatic with a long working distance and a manual aperture ring. Something that's small and compact, something that will fit directly on the camera without any special kind of rail or bellows or extension tube. Something that we can break down and put in our camera bag in one piece and carry around. Something that will fit on a standard focusing rail on a tripod in the field. Nobody's invented that. He asked me why. Why had nobody come up with something like that? I told him, I don't know. It's a mystery. That's it. I don't know whether or not that's going to interest Mr. Lee or not, but that's what I came up with to kind of change the way I've been talking about this lens system, because I really think that this may be a whole new application that somehow escaped me in all the months I've been using this. This lens works in the field as straightforwardly as anything could, because you've got the manual aperture ring. You can temporarily give it a 0.5 numeric aperture. You wouldn't take pictures there, but you can see, you can compose your shot. It was like Graham was talking about with the LEDs. You can have this 10 times magnification. If you can find subjects, what pops immediately to mind is slime molds, sessile things that aren't moving. You can crank up the NA, set up your composition, then reset the NA where you want it. It's got a long working distance of 20 millimeters, which is great in the field. It's not difficult to light subjects. And yeah, it works on a rail. It doesn't need an extra rail or bellows. Everything I said in the video came to me all at once, that there are really no reasons you couldn't be using this. Now, it's not easy, but when was anything that we decided to do easy? I mean, that's the whole point of this. It's difficult. And you know, the way Laowa has been approaching this, as far as I can tell, is as an alternative to spending an arm and a leg on everything you'd need to set up your studio for high-powered magnification. The truth is, in my opinion, this lens is going to sell to people who don't yet have microscope objectives, but they've looked at the prices of Mitutoyos, and they don't see themselves spending $3,000 on a 50x objective. Then they see this thing come along, and it opens up the possibility of, for the price of 1.5 10x's or a 20, less than a 20, getting all four of these magnifications in an apochromatic, fully corrected, basically infinity corrected microscope system that's portable. Now, you will watch the video and you'll see that, in my opinion, there is edge softening at 35 and 50x that I don't have anything to compare to, but I have a feeling you won't see that with the Mitutoyo objectives if it's set up right and lit right. So the amount of softening is tiny, and most of the people that I asked to look at the pictures didn't see it and didn't comment on it, which interested me. And that's why I showed the pictures to other people. So it's been very exciting for me to go through this process of thinking this through and asking Laowa if they want to go down this road. But I think that in my opinion, in my case, I would be interested in buying this because of that. In addition to the fact that if I didn't already have objectives, this would give me access to that kind of magnification. Photographing at this magnification is difficult, and this system makes it a little bit easier at 10 and 20, but definitely no easier at higher magnification. So this isn't buying this is not going to take better pictures necessarily or make you a better photographer. It's partially convenience. It's partially being able to get so much variety in your magnification from one purchase. And of course, a system that's made to function together. You know that the way this works is the objective lens is a high power magnifying lens. It's a very high power lens. The image that comes out has to be moved away from the sensor and reduced by these various tube lenses to form an image on the sensor. So it's like they invented the lens and then they custom built tube lenses that corrected for the chromatic aberration and the geometric variability for the different lengths to give the different magnification. So it's completely backwards. But what it does is it gives us a way to use this system outdoors as a fully matched set without having to. Can you imagine trying to do that with a 10x Mitutoyo objective? If it was mine, I'd have 245 millimeters of extension tube before I even got to the tube lens. Then I'd have a tube lens, infinity space. I'd have everything on a long reference rail that would have to be hanging off something. And by the time it was all set up, I don't think my tripod would stand up if it could reach high enough to dangle that thing. It just didn't make any sense, which is why I've never done it. I've done it here in the studio, but I would never take that outdoors. This I accidentally took outdoors and it worked. So this is new, and this will be maybe in this teaser if Leoa wants me to put it out. It is in my report to Leoa as I've written them a 20-page review report that covers everything I've found about the lens. And this gets its own chapter in that because I think this is important. Are any of you the least bit intrigued by this possibility that this may open up a really significant gap in our coverage?
Alan, all I can say is my only concern is I can think of very, very few uses for it. Because you know what it's like. You go out with a 5 times magnification lens into the wild,
yep,
and everything is moving, and that's the thing that worries me most about it.
When I thought about that when I was out there looking for something to photograph, in my case, it was the breeze. I was right on the water, and I would find that there were these little pink flowers that had the guts of the flowers were really pretty. You couldn't see them with your eyes, but they had these delicate little stamens. And I thought, oh, it's perfect. The things were flapping around like one of those inflatable arm things they have at the gas station. And you couldn't get the thing still to take a single frame. But what I started thinking about was Alison in the woods, in the rain, wherever she goes to find those slime molds, lying on the ground in absolute stillness with this. And I was thinking, that's a game changer. That would absolutely change the slime mold photography workflow if I had that. I'm going to send her the teaser anyway, just to see it, because she's been thinking about this as a possibility. And it was her kind of situation that made me think, I didn't think there would be anything I would be able to photograph at 50 times, because it just seemed like what the hell am I going to show that would interest anybody? It's everything. It's anything I look at becomes fascinating at 50 times. So I'm sure that in nature there is going to be plenty at 10 that's going to be captivating and as exciting as everything else we do. So I'm not too worried about that.
Alan, could I very, very briefly show you my first slime mold?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Slime molds trump everything else. If you've
Well,
got a slime mold, you get the stage.
All right. Well, I shouldn't get it because it failed. And
It's more like
so
a puppy.
if you can see this picture of the, sorry about the spider for people who don't like it. I took this picture using a focus bracketing because you were talking about it. I thought I'd give the camera a trial with focus bracketing. Not particularly good picture, but I was processing it and I noticed here.
Oh my goodness. That is brilliant. That's sporangia, definitely.
Yeah, well, I was so excited. Unfortunately, I haven't got my 20 times lens anymore, so I used a 10 times and cropped its life out of it, and that was the result.
Oh my goodness!
But that I measured it, and it's 260 microns high, so it's a quarter of a millimeter high. And I have a friend who's a world-renowned fungi man, and says it's a fungus, not a slime mold.
Oh, so, is
so
it?
I failed. So I apologise for that. That's where I got to. I'll stop now.
That looks that really does look like a slime mold. Who's your mycologist friend?
Brian Spooner. He was he's retired head of mycology at Kew Gardens.
Oh wow! Oh, that's fantastic. And he said it's a fungus.
Well, no, not quite. He said, I don't think it's a slime mold. It could be one of the Hyphomycetes, but also perhaps one of the so-called Phycomycetes. So he needs to take it apart to have a look at it. So that's where we are.
Okay. I mean, I would send it to Alison because she's probably got 15 of them in a matchbox somewhere. That's fantastic. Well, that is a great example of what I would wish I had that 10x in the bag for if I came across that in the field on a suitable day. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you, and in case this doesn't go anywhere and you don't see that teaser video come out, then at least you know it was there and that we talked about it. I have a feel. Yes.
Any chance they'll sell something short of a full set?
No, I'm quite positive they won't, and I haven't asked them. I am going to. I've got a letter into my guy there. The fact is, all of the cost of developing this kit went into that first lens, went into that objective. The tube lenses, I think, were relatively simple for them to correct for what was coming out of the objective, and they wouldn't make anything selling those. So I think that your $1,500, in other words, is getting that objective lens, and everything else is coming along for the ride. So you wouldn't get a discount that would be meaningful. And talking about meaningless discounts, I don't honestly know where to go with the whole question of the 10% was 7% discount from Novaflex. It is, in fact, the case that if you're a new buyer, you can go to Novaflex US, which is the only place this coupon works, and you can get a 10% discount just for being you. So I'm not sure what the incentive is for anybody to use that. I'm a little disappointed in how that worked out, but I'm also thrilled that they came on and they've given us the time to talk to us and show us their products. Honestly, I think that they are a dominant force in the field when it comes to this kind of equipment, and they charge what they charge, and they can get away with it because people are buying it. I would probably push back a little bit against Art's comment before we started that they were sticking it to us. That was you, Art, wasn't it, that said that? I don't want to.
No, it was me. I'll own up to it.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Sorry, Walter. Sorry, Art. Yeah, both of you. The fact of the matter is, I don't think they're sticking it to anybody. They're sticking it to everybody. That's just the way, they have a product that they believe is the best in the world. They do make a product that is absolutely fantastic in every detail. And they can charge what they want for it, and they are. And yeah, the fact they gave us a 10% discount is nice. It would feel a little more special if it was something that made a difference to my folks, but it is what it is.
Alan, my beef is with the middleman.
Yeah.
It's with the Mac Group.
Yes.
That markup on the price, on the European sale price, is usury. It's not reasonable.
I had to go to somebody who is in international manufacture and trade. He's an American that works with Chinese companies, and I had to break this down with him and ask him, was this reasonable? Well, he actually went through a whole bunch of stuff I never thought of, the excise duties and import taxes and warehousing and shipping and the fact that some of these pieces of equipment, the rails, are labor intensive to sell. I never thought about that, but there's a lot of time that goes into getting people to buy them, so they're not cheap to sell. At the end of the day, my friend Robert said, that is not an excessive margin. It's probably about right. And the lesson that I learned from that is comparing the price of an American-made product in America to that same thing, how it would be priced in Portugal, is relatively meaningless unless you understand all of the business pressures and forces that are affecting the price at the other end. I don't know that we can do that. So I don't really have an opinion on whether or not that is unreasonable or not. Does anybody else have a strong feeling about it? I mean, the Mac Group is not a fly-by-night outfit. They've been at this for a long time. They represent Benro and Mamiya. A bunch of big names have been with this group, and I don't think they have a business model that's designed to run off their business. But if I'm missing something, let me know what you think. But I think that this is probably as cheap as they can sell it. And understand that Novaflex can't sell them over here. They do not have the people. Did you hear in the interview? He has 37 employees. I was blown away when I heard that. 37 employees in Memmingen, and others scattered around, but they don't have a place in the US where they can do this work. So they have to source it out, and in the process, the price gets bumped. The things that don't have the costs associated with them, like their tripods, cost about the same as they do in Europe, because it's a different beast. I don't feel like it's unreasonable, but and they're not paying me to say that. They're not paying me to do anything. So it's just my observation. I still can't afford one, and when I send this back, it'll probably be the last time I get to use one. But they're incredible. Do they make you take better pictures or let you take better pictures? Probably. In some ways, I think they're better than the Stack Shot. It's better than the Stack Shot. But opinions. What does everybody else think about this? Does it feel like you're getting screwed over, or does it feel like it's just the nature of the beast?
This is Andy. I put some comments into the chat. I was an international product marketer at the manager for 20 plus years at 3M. And boy, I'd have to have a whole lot of information, but it when you start moving stuff from country to country with import, export, translation costs, shipping costs right now are just out of this world. It probably, if I could have a few months of getting all the data, I could figure it out. But no, it probably is pretty close to. I don't find it unreasonable. I mean, is
Interesting.
it bad? Yeah, it is. That's the problem with international trade is you got import, export, and I don't know what they do in Germany on exporting. The government wants their share too, so that could be a lot more than we think it is. I
Yeah.
still don't know all the facts to give you an exact answer, but it wouldn't surprise me.
I guess that's about where I am. I don't have the expertise. I mean, I'm sure, Patrick, you have photographic gear coming in and out of Germany. Does this surprise or shock you, or?
No, it's actually not. I mean, and especially not because, just an example, we have trains running through whole Europe, and depending on where you buy your ticket, whether you buy it in Switzerland or in Germany or in the Czech Republic, those prices, they vary. They are on the web. It's just like you pay double the price if you pay in Germany. You pay because otherwise people in countries with a lower income would never buy anything. And companies who sell things, they know that, and they make their prices so that they could sell something in every country. And I think that's a part of their calculation. And in addition to that, you have taxes and stuff like that. But, like if you would charge prices, you would charge in Germany, in Spain, you would sell less in Spain, I'm quite sure.
I see.
And that's something we haven't talked about. I think it also the income level, the average income level of people living in those countries is in consideration if you want to sell something. And so I think it's really a problem to compare prices. I mean, for forgetting about all the taxes and stuff, I mean, everyone knows it just has to be paid, so it has to be added to the price. But there are a lot of factors. If you want to sell something in another country, you have to look whether people can afford it, and if you make it a bit cheaper and they buy it, it's better than put a lot of money on it and nobody actually gets it.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising for me at all.
Well, that's good. That sounds like people who understand this stuff are agreeing with largely what we've been told. It does on the surface still seem a little bit unreasonable, but there really isn't an option because they won't sell directly to US citizens. And though you may have noticed there was some real hesitation on the part of my guests when it came to asking whether or not other vendors were selling to the US, and I get the impression I got from that was that they certainly are. They're just not supposed to. And I don't know anything about that. I wouldn't know what a British camera equipment company would charge to send it to me if I bought it directly from them. But I have a feeling it wouldn't be that much of a saving. But I don't know. I do know that that sending stuff to the UK or to anywhere in Germany is becoming no longer feasible as far as the costs. I sent something to somebody in Germany that had a value of $1 or thereabouts. The expense was in posting it, but they had to pay something like $30 US to get the package on their end for something that had no value. I mean, it was just ridiculous. The new tax laws and what have you for bringing stuff in. That review, for those of you who are still considering getting well, any equipment, but are still considering the Castell Micro, the review the review is done. I've already completed it. I am editing it now, and I was hoping to get it out this weekend, possibly first of the week. But I'll tell you what the bottom line is. That it is an almost faultless piece of equipment. I have not found anything about it I don't like, except the motor that hangs down at the back, which turns out to be absolutely a necessary part of the design, because without it, they would have to have the lead screw geared in order to run it with the motor any higher. So this obviates the use of gears, which adds apparently decades to the life of the rail and makes it more accurate. So that was the only complaint I had. And the fact that they used Canon batteries and not Nikon batteries, but nobody's listening to me on that.
Alan.
So, yeah.
Question. You said you went through the software part of the NovaFlex and made some videos and instructional stuff.
I did.
Put that out soon? Yeah,
that's going to be the next thing out. It's going to be a how to use the rail. It'll be similar to what I did for the Stack Shop.
Excellent.
So it'll just be for anybody who has one. Now, a big addition to that is going to be the fact that when I return the Castell Micro, I will be getting in its place the Castell M, which is the manual rail built on the same framework, but with a manual, supposedly 20-step actuator that I will be testing and taking out in the field, maybe even with a 10x layover, who knows? Any questions about any of this exciting stuff?
Alan, let me just say, I really appreciate your efforts to get a discount from NovaFlex. And I'm still thinking about buying the thing, but I cannot help but feel the way I feel.
Oh no, and I am not being critical of anybody for the way they feel. This is the one place that you can say whatever's on your mind, and it's not gonna offend. I mean, the one of the reasons I do this is so that I can get honest feedback from you guys about what I'm talking about and what we're looking at and what I'm doing. So this is very valuable information for me. I wish I could have got them to do more, but remember, they just met me. They probably have no idea what they've gotten themselves into. So
and they're well known for never putting their products on sale.
Yeah.
So the fact that you got a discount of 10% is just a miracle.
Well, it's certainly it bodes well for the future. I don't know whether or not I'll be doing anything else with NovaFlex. I have a feeling that the way they probably work is a very organic process, and maybe I will receive one of their LED lighting products or something down the road and be asked to review it. I don't know that there's going to be any kind of formal discussion before then, but there might be. If there is, you guys will know about it. Anything else that we need to cover? Anything we haven't talked about that we need to?
Alan, Bud, let me know what you want to do about the Rotolight situation, and when would be a good time.
Give me till Monday morning. Well, they probably won't respond well, they might respond today, but give me till Monday lunchtime. Let's talk Monday lunchtime, and then decide whether we're going to wait on them or pull the trigger. Reasonable?
Sounds good.
Okay.
The thumbnut link is in the chats if anyone wants any.
Yes, let me get that out. In fact, the chat is a file that I will put as an attachment in Patreon, so that you can open up this chat and get all the links from there. I will put this video in Patreon. What I'm going to start doing is just hosting, allowing Zoom to host these videos. They hold them on their site, and I'll just put a link in Patreon so you can go there, rather than make a YouTube video out of it, which just adds a layer of complexity. Has everybody seen my new Z8? No, and you want to? Okay, let me grab it.
Buy a Canon.
No,
Absolutely.
never,
Fuji.
never. You know, when I was using Susan's camera, I took to this instantly. I mean, I immediately knew what everything did, and I don't know how I knew that. It's because it was somebody else's camera. Now, all of a sudden, I'm having to think about what all the buttons do. Yeah, it's complicated. Have you ever looked at the menu of one of these things? It's fantastic. This is so much fun. I went out and took about 100 pictures in the garden last night. Did anybody, you guys weren't at the at that photo club meeting this week that I go to, but I presented a photograph. No, I showed it at a live stream. A photograph of a blob of bird droppings on a leaf that because I couldn't find anything to photograph, so I just photographed bird droppings on a leaf. Turned out to be copulating moths, and it was such a fun picture. I had no idea that's what I was photographing until after the fact when I saw that it was two moths. Would you want to see the picture? I have no idea where it is. I'll look for it while I'm talking. But anyway, I went out yesterday with the camera. I took a break in the afternoon, went out in the garden, and I have now got probably Alabama's most comprehensive collection of photographs of actual bird poop on leaves, because none of them were moths. But yeah, if you need any pictures of bird poop, I have it from every species that lives in Alabama, I think. But I'll try to find this moth real quick before I sign off.
Was that blue thing on the bottom of your camera the Novaflex quick release plate you can never find?
It was not. It was not, because I can't find it, and I know I'm in trouble about that. But it's blue like that. That's Benro. That's from my tripod. Yeah, I knew somebody was going to ask me about that because I lost it. I've lost the QR plate.
Alan, I bought that magic ball.
Yes. Do you like it?
I love it.
I've
you
heard
have to follow the instructions. You have to tighten it first with the little little lever first, and then really tighten it down with a big one. But it's pretty damn solid.
I have heard really good things about it. Who else has the Novaflex stuff?
Yeah, I
Oh, you have the tripod too?
Yes, Ralph. Yes, I after the talk, I went online and found the 75 tripod, which is the big pro tripod.
Yeah.
I found it at Speed Graphic, and they were selling their demo model for half price. So I bought that with the R50 ball head, and it is unbelievable. It is unbelievably solid and not too heavy. It really isn't.
You don't have it right there, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, could you grab it and let us take a quick look? While you're doing that, I'm going to show these pictures very, very quickly. I know everybody's got to go. This is my bird poop pictures, not the new ones. Hang on, it won't. Here, okay. This was the picture, the first one that I took, and it does look like bird poop. You have to admit that at first glance, that's a smear of bird poop, right? So when I saw what it actually was, I went back out in the garden and took a slightly closer picture, and that's two moths in flagrante delicto. They're probably webworm moths or something like that. They're common around here in the south, but you don't normally see them like this. Even their back wings are spread out like a smear of excrement on the leaf. I mean, they go all in on this. What a job, though, eh? When they go to cocktail parties with other moths and have to explain what they do for a living all day. But it was impressive. They completely had me fooled. I don't know how many times I've seen these and not known they were moths. Okay, it's all yours, Ralph.
Okay,
Oh, wow. Gosh, it is
Yes.
big, isn't it?
I don't know if you can see that. Is that
Yeah,
on?
clear as a bell. Yeah.
Okay, I just extended one of the extensions. So this is the tripod, of course, with a flat plate. This screws in, and then you just twist that, and you can go anywhere.
Oh my, look at the size of those legs.
And then you just tighten up, and of course my trusty Z9 sits on the top. But yeah, I mean the legs are astonishing. They are extremely.
Did it come with those little short stubby legs with the round balls on the end?
It did indeed. Yes, it comes with a set of those and all the tools. It was a demo model that they were taking down in the shop.
What
Can
is
I
the
ask-
total weight of that?
Total weight, Ralph?
What was that, Susan?
The total weight, have you weighed it to see if it corresponds to the spec or?
No, I'm sorry, I'm not that anal that I would go and start weighing things to see if it corresponds with a spec.
I'm not that anal, but
I am.
I can't hear you.
But this is not heavy. It's a carbon fiber. It's and I mean I'm going up here, and that's just one of the extensions. I've got 2 more extensions at the bottom. So
there are 4 legs, four leg sections.
It's a 3-legged one. This one.
It's gigantic.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And of course, the beauty of it is, you just push the button here, and the thing just it goes all the way around. I won't do it because I haven't got enough space in.
Yeah.
And it just clicks into place.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
It's
what did you used before, Ralph?
Pardon?
What were you using before? What was your tripod of choice?
It was I've got it here. It was a Benro carbon fiber.
Okay. So this is a big step up then.
Yeah, this is huge because I want to do field macro.
Oh yeah, well, this is what Robert absolutely swears by as the.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for your review of the manual NovaFlex, and then I'll make a decision.
Good, good.
Amy would like to know the model number
Of
the tripod.
this is the 75.
Pro 75, I think they call it.
Is it the Pro 75? Yeah, the Pro. Here we go. It's got it on it. Tripod Pro 75. That's the one.
Yeah.
And it's not the large magic ball. It's the middle one. It's not the small one. It's the middle one.
What can we ask what you paid for that? List is.
Yeah, the list for the tripod is about I think it's about £900, something like that. And I got it for 550.
Oof. Whoa, boy.
I can't remember and I paid whatever the price is for the magic ball. That wasn't on offer.
That would be, boy, if I could get one of those for 500, that would be quite the
Ralph,
deal.
On that magic ball,
yeah,
if you use that front lever, the little tiny lever first to get up close, to where you want it to lock.
This one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then get it to the lock on where you want it, and then tighten it with the big handle.
Yeah.
And that's it. You can't. I have an RSS ball head, and it's a piece of crap compared to that thing.
Yeah, I mean the engineering of this is just astonishing. It really is astonishing.
And it's that's really not very expensive. So
no, not really. In the scheme of things, for this quality, and I just know this is going to last for years.
Now, I also got their mounting plate, the cross mounting plate, so you can go either direction.
Yeah.
And it tightens from one of the angles from one of the, at the end. Boy, does that work nice. And why has no one thought of that before?
Exactly.
Well, I am impressed. Ralph, congratulations on that purchase. I've been hoping somebody would get that tripod because that's the one I've been eyeing. Well, that was great fun. Anybody else got anything they want to toss out before we call it?
Yeah, Alan, Phil here.
Yes.
I had expressed that I was a little nervous about a sale with Mac Group, and that I was having trouble with it. And I just wanted to say that they resolved it to my satisfaction, and I withdraw any criticism.
Okay,
they were
good.
fine.
Well, good. That's good to hear, Phil. Thanks. I didn't realize you were here in the room. And Susan, you were holding up a Prusa print.
Yes.
Did you print that?
Yeah.
Can you see? Do I have it aimed?
No. What are you aiming at?
Let me take Brio.
Did you get the Mark III or the Mark IV?
3. Yeah, I finally finished it.
Susan, your camera is apparently off.
Came unplugged.
Okay.
Okay.
Larry, were you recruited as the
No. I have a quick question though.
Yes.
I'm getting ready to buy my first Mac.
And
I want to know how much memory does everybody wish they got when they ordered theirs?
You're asking the wrong person. I got 192 gigabytes of memory. Listen, I've used the MacBook Pro that has let me tell you exactly how much memory it has on it, and it was plenty for everything that I do until I got this. This has 64 gigs. Now that's a lot, but 64 gigs of memory when I'm running Premiere Pro, usually 5 versions of Xerine at any given time, plus Photoshop and Lightroom, all at the same time. 64 seem to handle it. 192 definitely can handle it. I read an article last night about the new technology that is going to replace photogrammetry. And it is so exciting. If anybody has read about the new Gaussian models for 3D construction of models, it's mind-blowing. I'll put a link in the chat that will be in with the recording, and you can check out this very short video that makes photogrammetry look like something from the Dark Ages by comparison. It's okay, Susan, did you get your picture back up?
No, but I can hear everything and see you all. So it's nothing special about it, except it currently is on the same table that I'm talking to you from.
Did you put it together yourself?
Yes.
Oh, cool. How long did it take you?
I'm not sure I want to answer that.
Okay, that and how old are you are two that you can just pass on.
Right. Okay.
Because it took me a lot longer than they said it was going to take to put it together. But it works. And I've been printing stuff like crazy on it. So you're going to love it. It's so much fun.
That little label was the only thing I printed on it. I just got finished yesterday at noon. So
no, well, that was the first thing I printed too, and it's been up and away from there. All right, guys, have a great weekend.
Alan, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have to before we are running into trouble.
Yes, sir.
Just a very short question. I make it really short. There were people here in the audience who actually said that they would be willing to help with the messaging system in the WhatsApp. And messages are actually rolling in, and we have to somehow sit together and sort that out, how we do that. And I would ask everyone who was volunteering and just to go to the WhatsApp, use the messaging system, check the box for I need technical support, and give your name and your address so I can contact you. So we have that we can start actually working as volunteers on that system.
Wow.
I would suggest that as a good way so we can start and not having messages there not being dealt with. Okay.
Oh, that is, yeah. For some reason I thought maybe that would stop when I Yeah, you're right. Well, I need to get over there and in the meantime and get that taken care of. But anybody who would like to and would feel comfortable, doing a little bit, half an hour every, 20 years or something to sort through some of the messages that come in, and I think that Patrick and I are meeting with. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bud and Larry, maybe, and who else is? We're going to meet this week, I think, at some point. I'll get with you, Patrick, and I'll text you right after this. And we're going to get together. And one of the things we're going to do is just put together a checklist of guidelines for people who do volunteer to help with the messaging. The idea is just to get answers to people who have legit questions and pass messages to me that I need to address and deal with. But we'll put all of that in. We'll codify that when we get together. Is that okay, Patrick?
That is totally okay for me. Just didn't want to miss any volunteer because I know that there were people who said they would like to volunteer and they haven't written down their names. So that was
okay. Well, if there's anybody here, just please put it in chat, and then we'll go from there. And I'll dig out the list that I have, Patrick, and we'll talk.
Perfect.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for everything you do to support me. Couldn't do this without you. It's a lot of work, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Alan, bye.
See you guys.
Goodbye.
Take care. Thanks for everything.